Okay, my friends, sorry we're late. Been trying to get my computer working for the past half hour, basically. Okay, we are learning Siman Shin Tes Vav, 315. We're up to Sif Beis in the Alter Rebbe, Sif Gimel, sorry. I'm going to go straight into it. Everything we've been discussing now is about an oil that is a roof. It is permissible to make a screen, a mechitza, that is temporary on Shabbos. Even if he's making it in order to protect from cold or heat.
Yeah, I think I saw.
I'm going to have to put you on mute, sorry. Oh, you did already, okay, good. It's not like an oil for this purpose. For example, if another permissible example, if you put up a mechitza because of the candles, you don't want the wind to extinguish the candles. How much more so you're allowed to use it for modesty reasons. Person doesn't want to be sitting in an open area, so he makes a little bit of mechitzas to give him some privacy. Or, for example, a mechitza that he's making at the time of the drasha, of the speech, between the men and the women. That's a tznius matter, and it's not a separate rishus matter per se. Mechitza is not forbidden unless he's doing it in order to make a sukkah permissible, like we explain, or we will explain in Tafresh Lamed. Or, for example, if you are going to be allowing for carrying, as we're going to see, or as we saw over there already, or to make any other Isser permissible. Going, for example, he wants to make a screen 10 tvachim tall in front of the sfar. By spreading a sheet or a mat, in order it should be permissible to be mishamash mita in that cheder, in order to do his needs. By the way, in order to do that, just for your information, in order for it to work, it has to cover most of the room. It has to be 10 tvachim tall. Has to start within 3 of the ground, and that it has to be able to stand up in a ruach mitzuya, in an average wind. Obviously, in your bedroom, there's hopefully no average winds coming through. Doesn't make a difference. It has to have a din mechitza.
The same din of mechitza for sukkah.
Exactly. Same din of mechitza for sukkah, for Shabbos, for tumah, for all these things. It has to have a din mechitza. So, Allah says you're not allowed to do it in the first place on Shabbos. Because any place, where's your arm?
Rabbi, what are you reading from?
I'm reading from the Alter Rebbe, Gimel.
Oh, Gimel, okay.
Yeah. It is considered arai, but because it's materes, because it's allowing a certain halachic thing, so it is considered a forbidden thing. Just like an oil arai, it's arai.
No, my definition from arai means that you said all the law, like for mechitza for sukkah, it would be in certain strengths. But if you just hang it and it can, even so you don't have a roch mitzvah arai, but if you open the window, it will blow. It's not going to be good.
Sure, you're not going to be good for a sukkah, no.
Or let's say like to la'asot tzracha.
Nope.
It would be like.
It has to have a din mechitza. It has to have a din mechitza if it's being used as a mechitza. Meaning to say, there are 2 ways to allow for a siyas tzracha or tash shamit on the other side of the room. One is to make 2 coverings. You don't need a din mechitza. And one is to make a din mechitza. And then you don't even need coverings.
Is 2 coverings we consider a sheet at 42?
I think so. far as I know, yes. So,
and for purpose of tzniut, you don't need all this regulation.
no. You just need to not see each other. So the point is that over here, where you do need a status of a mechitza, you're not allowed to make it in the first place on Shabbos. Because wherever the mechitza allows something, it is establishing a separate reshus. When it's making carrying permissible, it's turning that area into reshus hayachid. And it's separating from the reshus harabah. Or karmelis it's next to it. So that's a significant mechitza.
No, it doesn't. You're making a mechitza inside the house.
Sorry, what?
You're making a mechitza inside the house, let's say for the books or whatever.
Yep.
So what kind of two reshut? It's one reshut.
No, it's a different reshus. In one side, asiyas trachav is aser.
But you're going from one room to another room. But still, everything like reshut hayachid. It's your reshut. It's your house.
So what? There's more the halachas other than reshus hayachid. Reshus hayachid is not the only halacha. There's halachas of reshus hayachid. There's halachas of sukkah, which has nothing to do with reshus hayachid. There's a sukkah could be within reshus hayachid. There's halachas of tashmish hamita. There's halachas of tuma and tara, for example. Same thing. Any of these halachas need mechitzas. And when you create a mechitza that is helpful for these halachas, you're making a separate reshus, not reshus for Shabbos, not reshus hayachid, a separate reshus for purposes of halacha. Let's say with tuma and tara, this is now going to be a reshus that's tahar as opposed to the other reshus that's tameh, or whatever. So the fact that one reshus is forbidden in tashmish hamita, that one is permissible. That's a halachically significant different reshus. If you just make two different reshus in the same room, but there's nothing to do in either side, like, so what? Then it's taka, no difference. So reshus hayachid, there's no difference between one room and the next. So then it makes no difference. But if there is a halachic difference, that's the issue. So, because he's making it in order to separate the domain, it's like he's making an ohel. I didn't reach the end yet. Go ahead.
Of
what I just said?
Yeah.
Yep.
In the beginning, first the oil, it's the God. When we're talking about the chitza, to me.
Yep.
So why is the first like oil? It's just the chitza.
Here's the thing. Let me explain. A mechitza. Yes. So a mechitza is normally not significant. So therefore, when they forbade an oil arai, they didn't forbid a mechitza because an oil is important. It gives you protection. It's something important. So even though it's only arai, they forbade it rabbanan. But a mechitza that just is whatever, it's on the side, it doesn't help you so much. So they didn't forbid it under the isser of asiyas oil. He said the main thing, the oil is the top. The sides, not important. When it comes to a mechitza that's materas, because it's an important mechitza, they included that in the isser of asiyas oil. In other words, an oil, you could say, well, the oil is maybe top, sides, maybe the sides are also an oil. No, normally we say the sides are not important. But if it's matir, if it makes it permissible, then they included that in the Isra Vasiyas oil, because that's a side that's important.
Regarding the oil, the guide, right, is the guide that you're making have to be a certain distance from a wall or any other mechitza to be considered as oil. As an example, let's say if you have like a big sheet with 4 wires attached to it. And you can put it like from a distance with a hook for one post, like 30 feet from the end of it. You would consider like...
The oil is an oil even if it has no walls. Even if it has no walls at all, it's an oil. Like by the sheep of Rav Huna. I don't think there was any walls there. I don't think so. I mean, there's no walls mentioned there. Just poles with a top. That's it. That's enough to make it forbidden. Okay. Now. If it's a situation where you don't need it to separate a reshus for itself, then you're allowed to do it in the first place on Shabbos, even if it's permitting an Isser. If you don't need it, then you can make it. If you need it, then you can't. We have a similar concept in Hilchos something or other. We had it in the past. It's about a hadas. And basically, we said in the past, if you have a hadas on Yontif, and it has red berries, puzzle, because it looks like it's spotted. If there's more berries than green leaves. To take off those red berries is to make it kosher. So that's not allowed on Yontif, because you're fixing it.
If you want to eat the berries.
Not sure.
You eat them, you have a kosher Shabbos.
I don't remember. Maybe it's mutter. I don't remember.
The same thing in terms of if you have dirt on you, you can wash it off.
Oh, similar. It's similar if you don't care about it. Exactly. The point is that we said over there, if you have already hadassim that are kosher, so you don't need this hadas, then you can take off the berries because you're not accomplishing anything. The minute you don't need it, you can do it. If you need it, you can't do it. It's like a catch-22. If you have hadassim, what do you mean? If you need 3 hadassim,
Well, why would you do something if you don't need it?
you want to eat the berries.
Oh, the berries on top like a pizza. Why would you put one up if you didn't need it?
So here's the answer. He's going to give you an example right now. Ella, Kivan, where was it? Here's an example. He's putting up a mechitza in front of a lamp in order that you be able to have relations on the other side. וגם הוא עובד קצת בניין שאינו עניר יופי דרך המחיצס. אמרת לשם ושאף מן הגבוה יהיו טפחים שאנחנו נקשרוס בכלל. If you're putting up. Sorry?
Isn't that a case where you need it?
No.
If you're putting in front of a light? Or...
No. Listen carefully. If you're putting up a chitza in front of a light, and you're putting it up in such a way that actually blocks the light of the light, and barely any of it gets through. A little bit, but nothing major. So now you actually don't need a din of mechitza. You don't need a mechitza. Because you have darkness. When you have darkness, you don't need a din of mechitza. Just like if you would put out, I mean, I can't do it on Shabbos, obviously, but if someone would put out the light, go right ahead. There's no need for mechitza.
Well, it's kind of like these Shabbos lights where you just twist it on the top.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking of right now. Twist the Shabbos lamp, done, dark, good to go. So if you cover the light in such a way that it's actually blocking the light, now you don't need the din of a mechitza. So if you don't need the din of a mechitza, you're allowed to make it as a mechitza because you don't need it. That's the principle. So, mutal Shabbos, it's permissible to have relations in that situation. Even if it wouldn't be 10 tvachim call. Shein chalekas rishus klal doesn't have the halachas of a separate rishus. Even if it's not well tied, in such a way that the wind would not move it. It's not like that. It would be able to move by the wind. Like you would have to if you want to make a separate domain. That's what I'm like in front of this forum. Questions about some Mishmar. I was explained there. So, if you need a din mechitza, It has to be 10 tall. It has to be tied down. It has to be covering a majority of the space between one wall and the other. Can't have a space of more than 3 tvachim underneath it. All the dinim of mechitza.
It would be actually practical to do stuff on mechitza on Shabbos. The tie to this, it's like you have other malachot involved in this.
No, tying is not necessarily a malacha. You could do a unprofessional knot that you know you're going to take off soon. I mean, tomorrow morning, I mean, whatever. That's allowed. It's like you tie your shoes. No problem. Anyway, I made this once with suitcases. I was staying in somebody's house with farm on one side and the beds on the other. So I set up the suitcases in such a way that they were the right height, and they were covering a majority of the way. And I think it was Friday night, so I started it before. Pretty sure the details are fuzzy. It's many years already. Whatever it was actually a narrow room. It was a narrow room, so it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It didn't need so many. But in any case, it has to be, heavy enough so it shouldn't blow over in a wind. So you have to like put something in it, something to hold it. And that's it. Simple.
But if it's something that would blow in the wind,
it's not a kosher
even
mechitza.
though there's no wind there, it's not kosher.
Not kosher.
You're not allowed to sleep in a room that there's books.
You can sleep, but you can't have relations. Can't have relations. That's the issue.
Yeah.
So the gamim eina kashura b'toiv. We said that already. The kaven chain is sorach lo yishtach lekshus ne'atzmo mudla says out ben yishachalek shus behind no shigo vay yitvacham kshurheit. Since you don't need it, so
Probably in this kind of case, it's not going to be, let's say, certain. And so making a pizza, take the books and put in the suitcase.
wait, how many books you have?
No, but in general.
You could do that too. It's no problem, but sometimes it's a bother. In any case, since you don't need it, you're allowed to make it, even in a way that it has a din mechitza. There's an interesting opinion of the Taz, by the way, which is not the halacha, but it's worth noting. Taz says, since you don't need a mechitza because you have other ways of making it permissible, even if you didn't make it permissible, it's permissible to make a mechitza because you don't need the mechitza per se. Meaning to say, in the case of the light, he says you can make a mechitza even if you don't cover the light. Why? Since you could cover the light, so the mechitza is not so necessary. So therefore, even if you make it, it's not so important. The same thing with Sfarim. You don't need a mechitza. You could double wrap them. Okay, even if you didn't double wrap them, it's okay. Now the Magen Avraham and most of the Achronim, and this is how we pass and say no. If you double cover them, then you could make a mechitza because you don't need it. Or if you at least single cover them plus the mechitza, so you don't really need the mechitza because that cover plus this cover goes together. Okay, then you can do it because it doesn't have to be mechitza per se. It could just be a second cover. But if you didn't cover them, so right now you need the mechitza, Magen Avraham holds it's not allowed, and that's the halacha. But Taz has an interesting take on it.
Could you make two mechitzas, one side by side? So one would be like the first covering on this form, and the second one's like the second. Then you don't need the mechitza.
You need to put them up at the same time. You put one up first, you already made a mechitza. Saying to put it up at the same time.
But when you cover his form with like sheet or something, well, that's not a mechitza.
It's not a mechitza, it's a covering, it's a din of covering. By the way, if you're using it that way, it has to be that the sfarim are actually not visible. Usually, if you're using the din mechitza, the sfarim can even be visible on the other side. Because it's a separate rishus. But if you're using a din of covering, then it has to actually be covered from wherever you're going to be, whatever it is, has to be covered.
If you're making a pizza according to all the law, but it's not less than 10 tefachim. So you can be patur.
No good. That's not according to the laws.
But you can be patur from making the mechitza.
Yeah, because you didn't make a mechitza. You didn't make a mechitza, so you didn't do anything wrong.
And already exists mechitza less than 10 tefachim. Can you just come and raise it a little bit up, another tefach?
Permissible, mutter gomer, mamish.
Huh?
Mamish allowed. Perfect. You're allowed to be moisif on an ohel arai. The whole basis of mechitzas.
This is mechitza, this is not the crack.
No, we already said. The basis of mechitzas, materas being also is based on oil. It's like an extension of the concept of oil. So what's permissible for oil is for sure permissible for mechitzas. Mechitza materas, that is. So therefore, you're allowed to add to a mechitza materas.
So we are making from something that is not to actually something that.
That is correct. That is correct. Very important. Very important. You can take it from not being matir to being matir. But because you're only adding, you're not creating it in the beginning, it's okay. It's a very big chiddush because you would think the main thing. No, you are allowed.
You're actually
being matir. You're actually being matir. It's an interesting thing because you would think the main thing is to be matir. So what if you had everything set up before? Right now you're being matir. No, that's not the main thing. The main thing is making the mechitza, and the fact that it's matir simply means that it's an important mechitza. Okay, but what are the rules of making the mechitza on Shabbos? Not more strict than making oil, and by an oil adding is allowed. So too, by mechitza adding is allowed. That's the chiddush. Okay. Sorry. Everything we're learning here, by the way, about Sfarim and Asiyas Tzrachel and all of that has import. It's negeya to, it goes without saying, to a husband and wife, right? Husband and wife's room, there should not be any Sfarim at all. The Alter Rebbe says even if there's no plans for having relations that night, the person may forget. You never know. If she's not in need. If she's in need, then obviously it's not going to happen. But if she's not, the Alter Rebbe recommends not to have any sfarim in the room, and so on. Even in children's rooms, by the way, if there are sfarim, they should be trained to change under the covers or in the bathroom. Not in that room, because otherwise it's a problem. They're, very young age. The Erev was not considered an Erev, very young age. But once they're already older, 5, 6, it's a problem. Underwear, yeah.
Like not pants.
No. So, and the mezuzah you were talking about yesterday, a mezuzah in a cheder she'ish v'ishta yishenim sham, a room, husband and wife sleep, or for that matter, if kids do change there and not covered, whatever, the mezuzah, according to the Alter Rebbe, it's enough to have one cover. Chiddush, because by everything else you need 2 covers.
Even the clear cover?
No. One unclear cover.
Okay.
One non-see-through cover.
But it's like a very if it's inside the room or the outside of the room.
That's correct. If it's outside the room, you don't even need
Even
that.
if the door is open.
Correct, because it has a din of a different rishus, just like we're learning here. When there's a mechitza, even if the sfarim are on top, it's a different rishus. Same thing if it's outside the door when the door closes, it's like a different rishus. But if it's inside the door when the door closes, so then you need to have one non-see-through cover. The reason why we're more lenient with the mezuzah than with regular sfarim, where you need 2 covers, Alter explains because the mezuzah, is like part of the wall. So even if it's sticking out from the wall, it's like part of the wall. It's not really part of the room. So therefore, we're more lenient, and it's enough to have one cover. So just interesting halacha to know.
But a studio apartment
Yep,
where everything's in one room.
yep.
So you have to be very cognizant of that then, and you have to have the cover constantly or before Shabbos or.
Well, you could just wrap it once and leave it there. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about it every time. Just wrap the mezuzah with paper.
How about the Sfarim?
Sfarim, yeah, you have to be careful. Sfarim, you have to be careful.
Actually, in a hotel room. Same issue.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct.
Hotel and put the swarm in a drawer.
Yeah, yeah. A drawer, in most cases, is not going to need a double covering because the drawer has a din of a reshus on its own, depending on the dimensions. It could have a din of a separate domain. Like it's 10 tefachim tall, and even just 4 by 4, that has din of like a reshus hayachid on Shabbos. So that's already like a separate domain. So once you close the drawer, it becomes part of that reshus. So that's not a problem. And if I'm not mistaken, that the same is true of a bookcase, actually. A bookcase, because it has the 3 walls. So if you put just one sheet hanging down, it gets a din of like a separate reshus. And you don't need 2.
Like a box. In a box.
Like a what, sorry?
In a box.
If the box is big enough to make a din of a separate reshus.
The sheet is the 4 walls, basically.
Exactly. Well, the box has to have the din of a separate reshus. A small box is not going to be good enough. It has to be a box that has the din of a separate reshus, 4 by 4 by 10 tall. So then it's a din of a separate reshus. Another point, totally on the side, but since we're discussing this, the mezuzah that I said that you could cover it once and just leave that covering there seems to be a problem with that because in general, in order for these coverings to work, it cannot be miyuchad lekach. It cannot be the special thing made for that. So for example, your tefillin bag is not counted as a cover. Or it's not counted as a second cover. It counts as 1, but it doesn't count as 2. So you can have your tefillin, which is in their case, and then it's put inside a tefillin bag, then it's put inside a talis bag, and then it's put inside a big plastic bag around it, and you still doesn't count towards having relations in the room. Because those are all miyuchadun l'kach, they're all specially designated for it. So how does it help to put a thing around the mezuzah? So the answer is very simple. When you use something as a bag to carry something, and it becomes the standard bag, that's what you use it for. So then it becomes nullified to the bag. Therefore, it's not going to provide the second mechitza concept. But if you take something that you don't need for the mezuzah, you're only putting it there specifically to make a hefsek. You understand? So that it's not nullified. It's nullified if it's mishamish, if it's helping that thing, like a bag, helping you carry it. But here it's not helping the mezuzah. On the contrary, the whole reason you're putting it there is to block the mezuzah. So even though it's miyuchad l'kach, it's made for it, it's okay. Similar to some people have their mincha mayers in a bag. So you ask, what's a bag help? It's miyuchad l'kach. No, it's specifically for the purpose of separating. So it doesn't become like miyuchad l'kach of that. Because it's not there to help the mincha mayer. It's there to block it. Okay.
So basically, if you said the filling case and the bag is miyuchad, so if you're in the airport, you cannot work with this.
No. It does count as 1. It doesn't count as 2, but it counts as 1. So if it's in your suitcase, that's the second one.
Can you designate it as 2 when you get it?
You need 2, but the ones that are miyuchad count as 1. They just don't count as a second.
All of them considered as 1.
All of them is like 1. But if you put it in a suitcase, then it's okay. What do you say, Yosef?
Can you designate the second bag as when you first get it? Can you designate it as a bag for the purpose of separating?
I don't know if that works, especially the tefillin bags are made specifically for them. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it works. It's like you're saying something which is patently not true. So I don't know if it works. If you take a bag that is not made for it and you specifically take it for this purpose of being separate, yes, definitely. But if you buy a talis bag, I don't know. I don't think so. That doesn't logically. It doesn't seem like it should work. But I can't say for sure. I'm not sure. Okay, v'chein b'sforim, number 4. Im toila mechitza neged kol hasforim, she'en mugul l'klal, she'en tzorach kal l'chiluk b'shois, im yesh michsa echad, echad hasforim levan mechitza zu. If you already have one cover on this form, and you're putting up a second one, and it's completely covering them, shav men mechitza zu g'vei tvachim, even if this second cover would not be 10 tvachim tall, and it wouldn't be well tied. And it would have no din of a separate mishos. Nevertheless, it's no less than any other cover. You would be allowed to have relations there, or actually to go to the bathroom there. For the shamish or to have relations in yesh michse. It has another covering on this form besides this mechitza. Because there are now 2 covers. It's like a double keli. Now that we know that it's enough to cover it, now that you know how to cover it in such a way that it makes a separate, that it becomes like a double cover, now you're even allowed to put it up in such a way that it does become a mechitza, because you don't need it. Because you don't need to divide the rishuis. It goes without saying that you can simply take 2 covers and put it over this safer item. And if it has no din mechitza, it's just
Anybody might get one cover?
I don't think so, no.
So everybody holding it after 2.
As far as I know, yes.
There's no machlokes about it.
I have not come across machlokes about it, no. Okay, number hey, moving right along, 5. Va'afilu, excuse me for standing up. I hope I'm not disturbing those of you that are watching. Just
during spar and regular spar.
yes.
What about Sefer Torah himself?
So if it is not allowed, I think it has to literally be in another room. I don't think it's enough to have doubles cover. Excuse me. I think maybe it says if he has nowhere else to put it, if he has nowhere else to be mashamish, then he can use a double cover.
Wasn't there a case in Brachos with the Torah in the room? So filling for sure. I remember that being under the pillow and
double cover, no problem.
But the Torah, was there a case about a Torah?
I don't remember there being a case, but if I'm not mistaken, it is mutter if there's nowhere else to go. And nowhere else to go, nowhere else to put the safer. As long as you have a double cover, I think it's okay. What?
Megillah.
Is Megillah the same as the Sefer Torah, or is it like others farm?
Yeah. Which area is yours?
Maybe more like a Sefer. The Sforim were originally like a Megillah.
Farm were originally like a Megillah. If I'm not mistaken, the din of what I was saying before, that you have to find a different house if possible, is a special thing about Sefer Torah. I'm not mistaken. So a Megillah has certain kedusha that's more than other printed farm, because it's on clef and so on and so forth, and all of that. But I don't think that's the din with Sefer Torah as far as this is concerned, as far as I remember. Okay. Ve'afilu hasforim megulim l'mayla me'mechitza. Shein mechitza zu chashuva kisoi. Oy shein or kisoi l'bagan rois l'shamesh. V'tzor shtei mechitza gavay yutfachim. V'kshura kel chasa. K'dei shach l'mshut me'atzma. Okay, you have a situation. You want to be able to be meshamish.
So, if the bookcase is 5 feet and just covering 10 tvachim from it, like it's a 10 tvachim only.
Yep.
The thing is so that the rest of the books above them, if you can see them visible,
Yep.
it's going to be mutam.
Yep. It has a din of a different rishus. If those 10 tvachim are tied down tight, say they have the din of a mechitza. Yeah. Correct. Get some caffeine. Okay. I'm actually going to get some. Give me a second. How do I do this?
Stag coat.
Not open. Not open. I don't want to take it.
Don't worry, we'll take the ring off, it's not sharp. You also need caffeine.
No.
You have instant coffee out there in the, huh?
The weather.
You also? You're tired or you're not feeling it? You're not your perky self, you're.
Any of the. Last I can tell you, the rubber time. יכול להיות?
It's a different response.
I guess it would cover nothing.
What's in front of them? It's in front of them.
You know, criticize crowds reading like nice
separation. Two different rooms.
If they're over here.
All right, here we are. Honor of Hanukkah.
It's gonna wake you up now.
And I need just 20 minutes after that. We'll fall back to sleep.
You turn the lower arm. Yeah. That's it going.
What you gonna call the
Cover, man.
Yes.
Cover, the cover, it's on the phone.
In the kitchen there, yes. The fridge.
Bye. What are you missing over there?
You see, that's what happens when you don't come.
Oh my goodness.
Mezonot, soda, the works.
And your arm's not even.
Chag Sameach.
Yoram.
You have a minyan for our bit?
I think I doubt it anyway.
No minyan.
no? Afterwards, you don't need.
Yeah.
Where is it?
I'm not losing it. All right, my friends. Even if the Sfarim are revealed above, or there's no second cover for them, You need the mechitza, tie down, in order to make a separate rishos. So to any other case where you need to make a rishos. Ein iser, here's what you were saying before, Rani. There's no iser. And Allah soisa betchila b'Shabbos, to make it on Shabbos in the first place. Al hoisa asumi boyd yoim kashir tefach. It was made from before Yom Tov or Shabbos, whatever, with the shir tefach. But the hoisa v'la b'Shabbos, you're allowed to add to it on Shabbos. Shetosefes oil arai muteres. Adding to an oil arai is muter. Yes.
Does this includes the top and the sides? If I have like a sukkah and I already have a tefach of schach on top, can I add to that? Or if I just have some sort of shelter to protect from the sun and there's a one tefach on top, can you add to that according to this? Or is this just talking about the sides?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up the sukkah. Because the Shlomo Zalman says, based on other sources, that sukkah is different. Shlomo Zalman says you cannot make a sukkah on Shabbos, regardless of the fact that you started to make that wall or that schach before Yom Tov. You need to say you have two walls, and you have a tefach of the third wall. All you need is another few tefachim. Now the third wall can be 4 tefachim. It could be only one tefach, but then if you already have that, you're done. But depending on where it's situated, it could be you need 4 tefachim, right? Whatever the details are. So you have one tefach up before Yom Tov, and you want to put up the rest without any malacha. You're just going to move over a divider, like like they have in shul. The dividers, you're going to move it over, and that's going to be your third wall. You can't do it.
You have like the 2.5 wall, even the 12 wall is like one tefach that it's enough going to Allah. I can put the mechitza to make it like a longer wall.
Absolutely. If you already have the necessary walls, and you want to put up more walls for tznius, for privacy, no problem. But you can't put it up if it's going to make it permissible. And my friends, the same thing, and how much more so applies to the schach. If you have a schach mat, and it's not rolled out enough to make it kosher, but it's starting to be rolled. Now, normally when it comes to a oil, as long as it's one tefach open, you're allowed to unroll it. We learned about it yesterday. No. Not if it's going to make the sukkah mutter. That's not allowed. You can't be moisef on an oil arai or on a mechitza materas if it's going to make a kosher sukkah. Because making a sukkah is too significant an accomplishment.
Or it's a halachic state, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
We were talking before.
It's a halachic state also to be able to have tashmish hamita, but the sukkah is more important. It sounds like random, but Rav Shlomo Zalman says he has proofs for it from other sources, and that's what it is.
So how do people use shlocks on sukkah?
We're going to get to that, actually. Well, you have...
But if I'm making a tent
to
protect me from the sun on Shabbos the rest of the year, and there's already one tefach of roof up there, I can add to that.
Yeah. Correct. That's the halacha.
Okay.
What's what? Sorry?
What the head is facing on the making sukkah. And you have a special cover covering the sukkah for the rain. And when they stop you removing it and leave you a tefach open. So basically when it's covered, it's not a kosher sukkah. But
correct.
And then you actually creating a kosher sukkah.
Correct.
Based on...
we are going to discuss that, actually. We are going to discuss that. The Alter Rebbe discusses that not in this Siman, but in Hilchas Sukkah, he discusses why that's allowed. So we'll get to that in Mitzvah. Okay.
So basically it's based on the heter or just is allowed?
The Alter Rebbe explains why it's mutter. Yeah.
Not on Sukkot, is it the same thing?
In terms of what?
Is it also usher to add another wall to make like 3 walls?
Why?
Well, what
It's
if
not, it's not a sukkah. It's
Right.
not it's accomplishing anything.
What if it's like 2 days before Sukkot and you still didn't finish your Sukkah yet? So you just add the 3rd wall. It's not Sukkot, so you didn't make anything, but it's ready now for Sukkot.
Interesting, Shaila. Interesting, Shaila. If it's Shabbos before Sukkot and you want to put up your 3rd wall, where now it's not, I mean, you don't need the sukkah for another couple of days. So you're maybe not really accomplishing anything.
Aren't you changing its status?
I mean, for the future you are, but for today you don't need a sukkah.
Well, you don't.
Does it have a status of a sukkah? Interesting, Shaila. I don't know.
Shouldn't have this top before you put the complete wall. If you have this top,
You need walls.
no, basically, if you're going to put, it's still not going to make it say the whole of the sukkah, but most likely doesn't have the schach. But if you have the schach, then you put the wall, so it doesn't have to push the sukkah from the here.
Isn't that considered construction?
That's the same question. Same question. If you're making the walls before, same question.
It's not considered construction if you do that on Shabbos.
No, I'm talking about if you do it in a permissible way, like you move over a, like the dividers they have for the room, a room divider. Not muktzah. You're just moving it over, and you're allowed to do that on a regular Shabbos. You just want to divide the room, for whatever reason. Here, where you're planning to use that section as a sukkah, that becomes a shayla.
Then you're doing something on Shabbos for the future.
Oh, you mean you're preparing?
Yeah.
That is a problem, but there are solutions to that problem. Meaning to say, if you do it in a way that's not obvious that it's for that, like if you're going to also use it in some way now, then it's allowed. Depending on the situation, there are ways to do it. Okay. The point is, yeah.
But the mechitza again, if you take a table, the other table is open, like you're going to put on the side, you can make it a mechitza.
Yep.
Use a mechitza.
Yep.
You're allowed to?
For what kind of mechitza?
Cover the books, so be able to do it in Shabbos or whatever.
No, why? Because it's already a table? No, table's not a mechitza. It's open, but it's not a mechitza. It's open, but it's not a mechitza. Just like you have a room divider, it's in the next room. It's not a mechitza because you need it here. You know what I'm saying?
Even if they put it in the same room?
No, it has to be in this spot. Wherever you're creating the mechitza, you have to separate the room into 2. So if you're separating it here, along this line, you know what I'm saying? If this is here before, you can add. But if this is here, you can't move it here and say, well, it was already here, so I'm just going to move it here, now I'm going to, doesn't work. It has to already be wherever it is, whether on the top, coming down, bottom going up, side, this side, it has to be, you're just adding to that. That's what it is. Okay. Whether it's above, I'm not sure where I'm up to, but let me just go back. Whether it's above to below. For example, a reed mat that is wrapped around a stick from before Shabbos. And one tefach's worth is hanging down from before. You're allowed to pull it down at Shabbos. You're allowed to tie it. Again, you're going to tie it in a permissible way, but you're going to tie it down so that it would not move in the wind. Ubein shtem asu min atzad, whether it's on the side, kigonim hoysem mechitza, but let us min atzad of ne'asform recha tefach. Here's a chiddush, another chiddush that you would not have necessarily realized. So you might have a room that already has a bit of a mechitza built into it. Meaning to say, instead of the room just being a square, the room has a section that's a little bit narrower and a section that's a little bit wider. So, and in the wider side, let's say, is where the sfarim are. And in the narrower side is, let's say, where the beds are. And that's where you want to make it mutter. So the fact is, there's already a beginning of a mechitza at that point built in. You didn't make it. It's built in. Let's talk about this room right here. Let's talk about this room right here. 1 second. Right here we have it. I'm just going to turn this around so all our viewers across the globe, wherever they're experiencing their Hanukkah, can see it. So right here is where the sfarim are, let's say, and right here beyond this is where the beds are. This is the beginning of a mechitza. Obviously, it's not good enough because it doesn't reach all the way to the other side, not even halfway. But you can add to this point. Even though this is already built. You didn't do anything before Shabbos, but nevertheless, you're just adding to it. You're not making a new barrier there.
We can't say it's miyuchad l'kach, like with the bag.
There's nothing wrong with being miyuchad l'kach. If you have 2 rooms, and one is miyuchad for sfarim, and one is miyuchad for sleeping, that's perfect. There's no law against that. All right. The point is,
So if you're saying that the bed is behind this wall,
it's not in that room. It's in the open space. It's an open space, but because that wall is, you're just continuing a wall. You're not starting a new mechitza. That's allowed. It's part of the building. It's a chiddush. Because until now we would have thought maybe it's because you did something before Shabbos. You put up the machzeles, you spread it out, you pulled it out, so you're showing, like in your mind, that you want to close it off. Now we're learning a chiddush. No, even if it's already there, you didn't do anything. But the fact is, you're just adding to a mechitza. You're not starting a new mechitza. That's good enough.
on the same concept.
Yep.
Okay. I want to make a mechitza over here or the right or something. This one is part of the mechitza and to this to the door.
I don't know about a door that moves. It doesn't stay in the same place.
I can put something that is not going to move and I'm going to add.
I don't know, but when the Shabbos came in, I don't know if the door wasn't yet fixed in its place. I don't know if that counts. I don't know. I would think not. I would think it has to be a mechitza that's for that spot. This is a mechitza that could be anywhere.
So wait, if I have this one already exists, okay, and I put something heavy from both sides, they're not going to move so easily.
From before Shabbos? Yeah.
On Shabbos.
On Shabbos, I don't know, because now
Put something, you take a suitcase or
I understand, but now you're.
One here doesn't move.
I understand, but now you started that. Until you did that, it wasn't the mechitza for that direction necessarily. Could have been for anything, or it could have been to be closed and not a mechitza at all. So I don't think you can count that as something that's there from before, unless you set it in place before Shabbos. That's something else.
The intrusion that you're talking about, does that have to divide this section from over there?
Or
behind this protrusion has to be open?
I mean, if it's not open, then what's the purpose of it? We're talking about when it is open until now. Now you want to close it off. You want to consider it closed off. You could use it, by the way, to separate that area. You could use it to separate this area, however you want, or both.
I understand what you're saying, but I fail to really see how this becomes the beginning of the mechitza. I understand this protrusion, but unless if you have something like this, you have a wall here or protrusion here,
Yeah.
you have a section here that is on the other side of it, and you
Yeah.
have a section here in it, then I understand you add to it.
Yeah.
But if it's like this, where it's all one, how are you adding to it? I mean, you can take any wall then and say, let's add to it.
What do you mean? If you want to add, if you don't have the beginning of something, like right here, there's nothing to add. This
Right.
wall is going this way. You want to make a mechitza that way. You're not adding. You're making a new mechitza.
So let me ask, I mean, like, in this case, let's pretend this specific case, this room, this is the bed, okay?
Yeah.
This is the bed.
Yeah.
The wall, this shape.
Yeah.
Can continue it, or because it have to be actually nothing over here to be like kind of a wall.
No,
To mamshich?
like that. I think that's what you're asking.
Yes.
You're asking if there wouldn't be a wall there, then you see that wall as, as a continuation. But if there's a wall there, so it's a separate room, so maybe it's not a continuation. No, I don't. I mean, the Alter Rebbe doesn't specifically say one way or the other. He doesn't say if that's part of another wall or not. But in halachas in other halachas, in terms of separating the two rooms for a minyan, for a purpose of an eruv and all those things, the fact that wall is part of another room doesn't diminish that it's also part of a wall in that direction. So
basically, any part of a wall you can give us a tefach, I will.
continue in that direction. Correct. You can continue in that direction.
Even this small corner over there by the door.
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. Yeah, but that's a doorway. I don't know if a doorway has a din of a mechitza. I don't know.
No,
Not
I mean,
partial.
from that point, I can continue.
I don't think so. No, I doubt it. Again, I didn't hear it discussed, so I'm just saying what comes to my head. I don't know if it has a din of a wall. It has a din of a Pesach.
A good example is in the next room, they have a divider that separates 2 or 3 sections.
Yep.
So they pull it out, it's already there, and it's started, because it has a width of this, whatever, and they just pull it across the room.
Yeah.
But if it's completely closed, I don't think it's going to help. One section has to be open and placed. It's the same thing when something is rolled. The Mr. Schwartz have to do one tefach unroll to be able to continue. So if all the doors by them, the big doors one next to the other, is the way it is. It's like wall. It's have to be at least one section open.
One tefach, like one
Yeah,
section.
but their door is like 4 feet each, so it's going to be like one. But that's straight.
No, practically you don't do a tefach. You either open a section or not. I don't know if it's practical. No, the way they're made is that you swing it. You either swing it out or you swing it in.
Oh, they're not made there to just like keep some on.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's like different directions. You swing it. Anyway, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
You talking about this type of wall? I don't think so.
You just keep on.
I think they pull it out and it sort of
One
comes
go
through.
right, one go left. It's like accordion.
There's 2 different ways of making those walls. One is there's a whole bunch side by side, and what you do is you pull them all out, and they lock into place. Or, as you said, you can make it where you're turning. But there's a lot of times they have a track on the ceiling.
Right.
That helps get into place.
So that's the way out, right? They have to have one open at least, no? To be able to open it completely?
I'm not 100% sure.
Not at the same
We
time.
are going to see later that in some cases you don't even need a tefach. In some cases where you have a handle that shows that this is meant to be opened, you don't even need to leave it a tefach open. The handle shows that it's meant to be open.
Yeah, but nobody is walls, and after bring up, if it's something wall, the wall doesn't consider as a guide. There should be at least, besides the materials of wall, a tefach open without.
Yeah, but it could be that doesn't apply if it's something that's obvious, that's there for the specific purpose of of opening. You know what I'm saying? Just like we see that if something has a handle, you don't need a tefach because the handle makes it obvious that it's meant to be opened. So it could be something that's like this, that's built into the wall, that is clearly there to be opened. Could be that it's different. I'm not sure. Could be the whole thing by the story of Rav Huna and the roll for the sheep is because the roll wasn't built in there. It was just lying there. You know what I mean? So maybe yes open, maybe not open. You have to open it, leave it open to show. But something that's built there specifically to be opened, could be you don't need it. I'm not sure about that. Not sure about that. I mean, what I was just talking about is even an oil. Even an oil that you need a tefach open before Shabbos, if it has a handle, we're going to see that it's okay. You don't need a tefach. So it could be the same thing.
In the situation when the Rebbe gave this, us discussing
Now here you already have a tefach. The question was if you don't have a tefach because they're all bunched up against. Right. The whole thing about a mechitza is only relevant if it's a mechitza materis. If you want to make a separate section that has a halachic ramification. I mean, normally in a shul, separate sections are not going to give you any halachic ramification. But if there would be, then it would be relevant.
It's enough committed to a question I have.
I don't remember our question.
If they want to have a separate. Right.
No, that's sneas. That's sneas.
If it's a din Torah, like
even if it's a din Torah, it's a din Torah of sneas. It's not a din of reshus. If it's going to be no, that's a reshus thing. In other words, there is the aspect of sneas to cover the sfarm, but if the sfarm are not covered and it's still permissible, it's simply a din of reshus, separate reshus. So even though the sfarm are uncovered, it's a separate reshus. You understand? When it comes to the kiddush, for example, if the women are visible, even if it has a separate reshus, that's not going to help you. And if the women are not visible, even if it's not a din of a separate reshus, because let's say it's a mechitza that's flaps in the wind, but there is no wind, that's fine. You understand? So it's not a din of reshus. Yeah. Yeah.
And the mechitza is still up.
Yeah.
You're allowed to use it after to other purposes.
Yeah. 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 You can't do it with that kavana, but if you did it already and it's there. I understand, yeah. It's okay. Yeah. There's no issue to use it. There's issue to make it. And then when you made it, you didn't have that kavana, so you didn't do anything wrong. No, that's not possible. That's already like that's like a myron, that's like a separation.
Different places.
Where it says it. Where it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not going to come up with that if it doesn't say it. I don't know. Yes. Okay. The point is, you're allowed to add a sheet. I'm at the end of hay. You're allowed to add a sheet because that's an addition to an oil arai. Now the Alter says, even though the mechitza that is there is fixed, that's no problem. Like we explained. It's only also if the addition is kavua. What you're adding to, we know you cannot make any oil kavua on Shabbos. You can't make a mechitza kavua on Shabbos. But you're allowed to add to an oil arai. You're allowed to add to a mechitza arai, even if it's a mechitza that's materas. But the point is the addition has to be arai. What you're adding to doesn't have to be arai. Understand? So the whole point is what you're adding has to be arai. You can't add something permanent to something temporary. But you could add something temporary to something permanent. That's the point.
That's like that wall that you were when you were showing your room.
Exactly.
There. Okay.
Correct. If you don't mind, I'd like to do Vav and Zion. We started late, and I just had my caffeine, so I'm perked up and ready to go. I know you're tired to fall. Quickly.
He had his caffeine too.
Very good. Vav, let's go. This is all if it is a mechitzas arai, a mechitza kavua. If it's a mechitza kavua, if it's a permanent kind of screen, asur b'chol inyan, it's forbidden regardless. Afilu ina nasis el tznius b'alma, even if it's only for tznius. Afilu lo hoisif aleh tesefes kavua asur b'chol inyan. Even to add any kind of permanent addition is forbidden in any case. Kol makom nevertheless, mutar lidlis b'Shabbos dinam tziyom l'noyaf b'shikvun sham kiven shein nasuyin sham lemechitza. Huge chiddush, my friends. This is from the Magen Avraham. You're allowed to put up dinim hametzuyorim, tapestries, like kind of like artwork. Even if you're planning on leaving them there for an indefinite amount of time. It seems like a major, Shabbos, you're putting something up permanently, no? Which you couldn't do for a mechitza, by the way. You can't put up a permanent mechitza. But when it comes to something like this, which is it's not a mechitza. What is it? It's just decoration. So that's not considered adding to the binyan. A mechitza is something important. So even if you didn't do any malacha per se, you didn't bang, you didn't build per se, but if you put it in a place that it's going to stay, that's a problem because that's a permanent mechitza.
What's a practical example of this?
A practical example of this is very simple. Putting a picture on a wall. Now you can't bang the nail into the wall, that's a Torah violation. But taking a picture and simply hanging it on the wall. You may want it to stay there indefinitely.
I thought that was usher.
No.
But if it's crooked, you can't. Can you straighten it out if it's crooked?
Yeah, why not? Same thing.
Okay. I thought that. Okay.
Same thing.
What happens, or how do we account for the value of whatever you're hanging? It's a very valuable piece of artwork. Would that change the situation?
I did see a machlokes about that. If a very valuable artwork is considered muktzah machmas chasar and kiss or not. Some people say yes, and some people say no, because muktzah machmas chasar and kiss is usually something that has a forbidden use, and you wouldn't use it for anything else because it's expensive, so therefore it remains with no use. But over here, the argument can be made. I mean, you could argue that here too, because it has no use really. What's the use? It just sits there. You don't use it. And it's expensive. So that's the argument to say it's muktzah machmas chasar and kiss. But the other argument is that its use is its decorative purpose. It's decorating. That's a permissible use. So a thing that's expensive but has a permissible use is not muktzah. You know what I'm saying? A sefer Torah, very expensive, but you're allowed to use it. The fact that it's expensive is not a problem because it's permissible to use. Muktzah means you separate it. So if it's something that's forbidden to use, plus it's expensive, so you would never use it for anything else, wow, that's muktzah. That's separated in my mind. But if something has a permissible use, it's not separated. So that is a machlokes. Okay, V'avilain, Zion, and the curtains, Sheton Lifnei Pesach Makam Delis, that is hung in the doorway in front of a door. Another huge chiddush from the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham is coming up with big chiddushim here. I mean, the Alter Rebbe is quoting it, but I'm saying that it's the Magen Avraham's chiddush originally. Even though, how do I know it's not Magen Avraham? Because it is. Nun Ches quotes the Magen Avraham. I mean, he quotes a lot of other people, but the Magen Avraham adds something significant to this. The point is, even though you have a curtain that is in the doorway in a permanent way, you're allowed to put it up on Shabbos. Here's the chiddush. You would think here you have two ingredients that make it aser. First of all, it's a mechitza. Second of all, it's kavua. We said before, a mechitza kavua is aser. Now, if it's just a tapestry that's not accomplishing any kind of mechitza, just
additional to the delet or instead of the delet?
No, you have the delet, you have a door, but you also want a mechitza so that when the door is open, you still have some privacy. What's the difference? Because why? The word is shekivin shu nov and not beruach, since it shakes in the wind, it blows in the wind. Beruach matsuya in a common wind. And it doesn't stop the people who walk back and forth there. It's not called the mechitza kavu, it's called the mechitza sarai. Sorry, this is the Beis Yosef. I think it's actually the Beis Yosef's chiddush. I'm sorry. And therefore it has no isur unless it's actually accomplishing a separate rishus, like we said before. Okay, so this is another chiddush. Even though it's a mechitza, and even though it's kavua, but because it's simply not a strong mechitza, you walk right through it, blows in the wind, it's not considered a mechitza. So you're basically, you're hanging it. Now, obviously, you can't hang it in any kind of a way that involves any other kind of malach. But if you already have the pole there, you're just putting the hooks over the pole, something like that. So there's no mechitza, there's no innate problem of binyan, except for the fact you would think it's a mechitza kavur, it's forbidden. No, it's not forbidden because it's not considered a serious mechitza. I mean, how's the pole connected? We asked that yesterday, and I don't know. Still don't know. Okay. For the same reason, you're allowed to put up a paroich, as we mentioned this yesterday, in front of the Aron Kodesh for the same reason. This is the Magen Avraham. Even if it has no door in the Aron, and the paroich is the fourth door, because that's only mechitz arai, and it's not made for tznius. Even though it's not arai, because you're planning to leave it up there till next time you take it down, and there's no foreseeable end for that. But because it's essentially something that's blows, it's not strong, it's not forbidden. I'll explain it. This is an interesting chiddush. When you put up this mechitza, you can't put it up in such a way that it's going to have an ohel at any point. An ohel is defined as one tefach that is like kind of shading even one square tefach space. So now, because you're putting up a mechitza, which a mechitza has some kind of, power of, it is a mechitza, it's not nothing, you know what I mean? It's not like you're making your bed where you're not doing anything. You are putting up a mechitza. So if in the process of putting up a mechitza, it is also spread out like an ohel, if at some point it becomes spread out like an ohel, you're putting it over the pole, and you put it over the pole, and you're holding it, and it's like it has a little space underneath it, and it's a tefach wide. That's a problem. So you say, big deal. I mean, it's for half a second while I'm putting it up. No, because you are putting up a mechitza, so you're involved in making some kind of partition, plus even temporarily, you're creating an ohel, it's forbidden. So you have to put it up in such a way, well, if it's only one thing that you're just hooking it on, it's very simple. But let's say it's the thing that you're putting it over. You know what I'm saying? Like you're taking a talus sort of thing, you're putting it over a pole, have to be very careful. That's why he says if you do it with two people, if it's a big thing, you should do it with two people to make sure you can just put it up and over, instead of needing to put up one side and the other side and hold it, and maybe you won't be able to do it without creating a tefach space underneath it. So this is a interesting chiddush l'chumra in this case. If you're allowed to. And one last case, which to this day I find difficult to understand, but here goes. V'kila sheyesh l'gag tofer v'tol l'sviv v'kein safa. Also l'tlis l'klam b'Shabbos afilu ba'asor sheyev sheshalei tigba asafa me'at v'te'asa oil arai. I'm sorry? Kila sheyesh l'gag. Exactly. Here's how I understand this chiddush at the end of Zayin.
Like on 2 posts or 4 posts?
4. You have a bed. Right, you have a bed, which the bed has a canopy over it. 4 posts holding up a canopy. Now you want to put up a top that will go over this and will also have curtains hanging around the side. Okay? So now you're not creating any kind of oil on top because that's already there. You already have the top there. All you want to do is put up this thing which will now, it'll sit and rest on the existing kila, and it will have the curtains hanging down the side. Curtains you're allowed to do. These curtains are only for tznius. There's no machitza materis, no problem. You would think it should be allowed. However, if this has a frame, it's like it has material that has a border around it, so that it's going to fit exactly on this rectangle piece on top of the kila, top of the bed. What is it called? Whatever, canopy. Thank you. So, and then it's going to hang on the side. So that in order to get it up there, until you settle it in its place, there are going to be corners and sides that are going to be lifted up, even temporarily, and you're going to have a tefach space underneath them. Can't do it.
You roll it? Put it in a roll?
No. What you can do is one that does not have a frame, it doesn't have a border, so you can very carefully just pick it up and, with 2 people and do it over, down like that. So it doesn't at any point get lifted up. But once you have that border, so you have to lift it up in order to fit it in place, it's necessarily going to be lifted up. There's no way you can just unroll it because it's not even, you know what I'm saying? Here they're hanging down and here it's straight. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be that fold. In order to get it in place, you have to lift it up and put it in place. So I wonder if you can picture it. I'm sorry?
You said you didn't understand it.
It took me a few years to come to the understanding I just gave you today, which is what I think is the pshat. I hope I got it right. All right, my friends. That's it. We covered Mechitza Materas, and we'll go back to Ohel itself in Mitzvah Shem Tuesday night.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, what I think it will be is just a late start. Tuesday, it'll be like an 8:30 start. Mitzvah Hashem. But if I have to back out of that, I will let you know.
But right now it's 8:30 on Tuesday.
8:30 on Tuesday, Mitzvah Hashem. Yes.
You gave one last year when we had to do that.
Did I?
Was it last year whenever you take